Chargers are traveling to North Carolina this week, taking on the Carolina Panthers, who's coming off a very disappointing loss where they were blown out by halftime against the Saints. Now the Chargers come into town looking to punish Carolina's defense with that dominating running game that they showed in week one. Will the Chargers roll over Carolina and start the season off 2-0, or will Carolina try to get back on track? Come on, let's talk about it on Chargers Talk 4630. Stacey Mallory, and welcome to Chargers Talk 4630. If this is your first time here, we welcome you and ask that you follow this podcast by pressing on the subscribe button. This way, you'll be notified whenever there's a podcast that goes on live or we release the latest content. And you can also hear us wherever you get your podcasts. And please go to the web and check out some hot topics involving the Chargers on stormcloud.blog, which is run by my friend and one of our own, Kyle D. Now, before I get started, I want to give a big shout out to a beautiful friend, a sister, and a friend of my family's who's a Raider fan. And I did not know she watches the podcast until she sent me a text last night saying she went on there and watched to see what I had to say about the Raiders and Chargers game that they just had a few days ago. She sent me some orange emojis, and y'all know what those mean, but she has a heart of gold, and I love her, and I give her a big shout out today. So Monterey Cruz Vinoy, thanks for watching and being a subscriber. You already know. So now let me touch on Raider fans for a brief minute. So there was a lot of chatter from the Raider fans that came into the chat room the last couple of days. And for the most part, everyone was respectful. We took a few digs at each other in fun, but nothing personal. Just glad that football is back. Some Raider fans was kind of sore about the loss, but the same as we would have been had the Chargers lost. But it was all love, and even a few Raider fans subscribed to the podcast. Now, that was shocking to me, but at the same time, I'm grateful to you guys for joining us the past few days, and I thank you to the ones that subscribed and was very, very kind to you, and I really appreciate it. So now, here's what I'll say about some of them interactions we had in the chat room with the Raider fans, and I want you to understand this. I had a lot of fun with you guys, and nothing was personal, but no two people are the same. We all are different, right? We all come from different walks of life, different backgrounds, and different upbringings. Some of us are younger. Some of us are older, and some of us to a degree see a lot of things in the world through our eyes differently because we are different. We may not know each other personally, and we don't have to always agree with one another, but it is important that we learn to listen to each other and respect each other. And when we do that, we learn from each other. So Raider fans, thank you and good luck against the Ravens this week. And now I turn my attention and my thoughts to the Chargers facing the Carolina Panthers this weekend. So now the Chargers hit the road, heading to Bank of America Stadium in North Carolina to face the Panthers, who got their work cut out for them because the Chargers are coming into town after a physical, hard-fought division game against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Panthers will have to deal with Justin Herbert and J.K. Dobbins, who had a day on the ground Sunday, running for 135 yards on 10 carries. That's not a good thing for the Panthers, who got humiliated in their season opener. The Panthers was embarrassed by the Saints. It was down 30-0 in the first half before losing the game finally 47-10. Nothing was working for Carolina, and anyone who watched that game saw that as well. It was a bad day at the office for quarterback Bryce Young, who got himself in trouble right out the gate by throwing a pick on his first attempt. And according to reports, questions are being raised now about whether he really is the future and franchise quarterback of this team. His stats from that game against the Saints was very troubling. He was 13 of 30 with a completion rate of 43.3%. He only had 161 passing yards, no touchdowns. He had 2 interceptions and a 32.8 passer rating with only 12 rushing yards, but he did have 1 rushing touchdown. The Panthers were expecting a lot from the former first overall pick in last year's draft, and I know that one bad game don't define his season. but he's struggling to win over the confidence of their organization, especially having a bad rookie season and seeing what C.J. Stroud became with the Texans with his play leading them to the playoffs last year. ESPN analyst and former player Dominique Fox, he suggested if he gets off to another bad start versus the Chargers this weekend, he should be benched in favor of Andy Dalton. The old Chargers usually will struggle in a game that's set up like this and find a way to lose it. But not this Charger team led by Jim Harbaugh, and looks what it appears to be a stout defense that not only improved on the defensive line and the linebacker positions, but has a scary pass rush that features Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Tui Tuipulotu, Bud Dupree. Two premier tackles on both sides of the offensive line. This should be a game where the Chargers win and win with very little difficulty. News for the Panthers went from bad to worse last weekend because ESPN has reported that Pro Bowl defensive tackle and standout Derrick Brown suffered, unfortunately, a potentially season-ending knee injury. This is a nightmare scenario for the Panthers. The Chargers have only played the Panthers a total of 7 games in their history and only beaten the Panthers once back in 2004 when you had a young LaDainian Tomlinson. But I don't expect that to happen under this new regime led by Jim Harbaugh, who has quickly changed the culture and the identity of this team just like he's done everywhere else. You've seen it from the very preseason game, especially on the defensive side of the ball, led by defensive coordinator Jesse Minter, that has this Charger team playing very physical, playing very fast, playing with the edge. They tackle well. And you saw it on display in week 1 from the very beginning of the whistle to the end of the game. So I don't see things getting any better for the Panthers in week 2 as I have the Chargers winning this game 27-12. I'll have to say, everything that Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz said they was going to do, they have done. On offense, they want to control the time of possession. They want to be able to run downhill. They want to be able to have long, methodical drives. When they need Justin Herbert to do Justin Herbert things, he can do that. In Roman's scheme, you don't need the quarterback to throw 55 times a game. Justin Herbert only had about 145 yards passing, and they still won. And that was thanks to having a total of 176 yards on the ground. And on the defensive side, with the edge rushers, and you got Poona Ford and Agbanaya in the middle, 2 big, stout defensive tackles, man in the middle. You got the edge rushers with Bosa and Khalil Mack. And then when they need a break, then you got Tui Tuipulotu and Bud Dupree coming off. This defense looked like they could be really something special. And everything that they said they were going to do, we wanted to just wait and see what it was going to look like. It didn't always look pretty, but it was a W. And that's the only thing that matters. So that'll do it for this episode. And thanks for joining us here at Chargers Talk 4630. I truly thank you for tuning in. And don't forget to log on to stormcloud.blog to check out more Chargers content. We will be back Monday morning to discuss the results of our second game of the season against the Carolina Panthers, which we believe is going to be another victory and a great way to start off the season at 2-0. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that now before you exit this podcast. And as always, be good, be well, enjoy tonight's game against the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins. Enjoy your weekend and enjoy Sunday's Chargers-Panthers matchup. Peace and boat up.